Okay, hello everybody, and welcome back to another installment of our Inspired Jewish Women podcast. Hi everybody, hi Wendy. I have such a fabulous guest joining me today, Wendy Margolin, coming in from Chicago, Illinois. Hi Wendy.
Illinois with silent S.
Sorry.
Just for the record.
Okay, Illinois. And I mean, are you from Illinois? Were you born in there? Okay.
I am a Midwestern. I'm from Columbus, Ohio, which is not at all interesting. But I'm here I've been in Chicago since at least about 20 years.
Wow. That's a long time. That's like half your life, right?
Almost, yeah.
Wow. Well, Wendy is a mother, a wife, a business owner, a blogger, a bike rider, a runner, a dog mom. I mean, she's so much, and I'm so excited for you to be here with us. We have an exciting conversation today, but I do feel like every conversation with you is pretty exciting, Wendy.
That's so sweet. Yeah, so we really just met this summer, or last year in Israel. I was on your trip.
A long time ago, right? Oh my gosh,
so much has changed, but I feel really grateful to have met you and always inspired speaking to you. And I first want to say your title of your podcast is a little intimidating because I'm supposed to be an inspired Jewish woman here, and I'd like to say I'd put myself in the category of an aspiring, inspired Jewish woman. So I hope that I can live up to the name of your podcast today.
Wendy, you should just know we struggled so much coming up with the name for our nonprofit organization, for our podcast. We really, really struggled because I remember talking to Malka and Tia, my co-partners in Inspired Jewish Women, and I remember being honest. Inspired. Like, I feel like, how could I even call ourselves that? Like, sometimes we have days when we're just not feeling it. But the hope is that we will be inspired, inspire others, inspire ourselves in the process.
Totally.
So it's kind of like this reminder. Yes. So I really look at you as such a light, such a beautiful light. Inspiration.
Thank you. I'm coming from you. That really means a lot, obviously. And I think everyone listening or watching would totally agree with you. One more thing on your title that I really like. So I always, I know you both of us listen to Rachel Hollis a lot. So she always talks about talking about your goals as if they happened, right? And actually heard, not this year, but last year in preparation for Rosh Hashanah during the month of Elul, that I don't want to quote who it was. It was either Ramban or Rambam who said that, like, you should think about your goals as if they happened. He didn't say that specifically, but I was in a class with Rabbi Reuven Brand, who's a Rosh Kollel here in Chicago, and that was what he was talking about. So I was like, look, it was in the Torah first, but that idea of just call yourself inspired, or just call yourself who you want to be. That really speaks to me, and like visioning who you want to be, and then you have a greater chance of becoming that.
Wow, that's so beautiful. And I think we could all relate to that. I mean, in trying to change habits, or in trying to become bigger or greater or grow in any area in life, our sages tell us that when we do something again and again and again, it becomes our nature. So it's kind of like, even if I'm not feeling it, and I actually remember it was last year, I went on a camping trip with my family, and it was a disaster. Like, I could spend the whole podcast crying.
You should have talked to me first.
Oh, first and last, okay? It was, when you wake up and your mattress is like on the pebbly ground, like air out of the mattress, bitten by mosquitoes, don't ask. It was a disaster, to put it mildly. And I remember feeling really mad, and the kids were fighting and nothing was going well. And my husband had gone to a Starbucks. I guess we were glamping, okay? He went to get me a Starbucks, and you know how they kind of the barista will write your name on it. So when my husband handed it to me, it said inspired.
Beautiful.
It was the last thing I felt, but for me it was like, that's right.
Yeah, I love that.
Straighten my crown, get back up. remind myself where my patients ran to and try this again. So yeah, sometimes we need all the help that we could get. Okay, so let's get started because we're going to be talking about some pretty incredible things. And I think a lot of women will be able to relate to these topics. We want to talk about finding balance. You've mentioned to me that in the last 4 years or so, you've been building your business. And it was like a shift because for the, a decade before, you were raising your kids. You were sitting on
I was working, but I was, I've always worked with my kids, but I was part-time until 4 years ago.
Okay.
And then I do marketing. So I've always been in communications. And so I have worked since I left college, really, after a year in Israel. And then I right away started working, and I worked ever since I had kids, but I was fortunate to be able to be part-time.
Right.
And then in the past 4 years, I've had my kids all in school full-time. So I have been full-time. And I launched my business literally, I think it's a 1-year anniversary this week. Might be next week. I have to look it up. So I took my like side hustle, as they call it, and made it. I left my part-time job and I really dove into my business a year ago. So
wow. So what, and quite the year to do that, right? With all your kids home, right? It's like,
that was not my plan. Yeah.
You said that you're really good at ignoring them at this point, focusing on your work and, just whatever noise is happening outside your office, just like let it go. And so tell us a little bit about that. I mean, how does it feel? I'm sure it's complicated. I'm sure there are many feelings as a mom.
Yeah, for sure.
Letting go of being more accessible to them and now making this shift, as you called it. It's like the pendulum swing.
Yeah. So I can remember, I have a way of like remembering ideas, but not the full structure of it. So I can't remember who said it, but I definitely was hearing about balance in a way that really spoke to me, that it's this pendulum. So younger in my life, when I had my first three, I have 4 kids. So my first 3 are each 2 years apart. And I had kids age 4 and under at one point. And all I cared about was my kids. I was working. I had a great job. I was at a newspaper and I totally enjoyed it. I got a lot out of it, but like my priority was always to like get home, get that 1 o'clock train. I would have a fit if a meeting went over, and I was like, I'd be like stewing inside because I just needed to get home to them. And it was an easier time to balance work and being a mom because there weren't smartphones until until my son, who's now 9. I didn't have a smartphone until he was like a toddler maybe. Wow. So I feel really fortunate to have been able to be a working mom at that time, where like my boss had to get on the phone and I didn't necessarily always answer if he wanted to reach me,
Huge difference. I mean, from our kids. I mean, how old is your oldest one?
She's gonna be a senior in high school.
Wow. Okay, same as mine.
Right. And that's not a lot of time. It's just wild how much our world and raising kids in this world has changed between, my oldest and my youngest are 8 years apart to the day. They have the same birthday. Wow. So, but I was a very different parent because their lives have like really followed the digital media, like just total revolution.
I remember,
so it's interesting.
Think of this, just kind of mind-boggling, but when we had our early, our first kids, and if you were a nursing mom, I mean, I remember nursing and just like gazing at this baby in my arms, just like there was so much, what are hormones?
Now you're like this.
Right now it's like you're nursing, but you're scrolling at the same time. I mean, and that's, if you go to a hospital, if you go to a maternity ward, everyone is doing that. I mean, like, it's kind of sad in a way. I mean, we're multitasking. Yes, we're doing work right after, we give birth, and it's amazing and all that. But I think we are missing out in a way.
Yeah, I think that there's always good and bad with everything. You know, none of us, I, I mean, so many people are out of work right now, and that's a tremendous challenge. But I wonder, you know, how many more people would be out of work if we didn't have this digital revolution, you know? So there's just good and bad to everything. But speaking to that point of the pendulum and that balance, so I feel like I wouldn't have planned this for my life, really. Like, I couldn't have pictured the way it turned out, but the way that it did so far is, you know, is that, you know, I've really had stages where, like, the kids were little, so my stage was really focused on them, and now they're bigger, and they still need me in totally different ways, but I have to just know, like, this is my time to work on a business that I'm building, and that's my family too, right? Like, I have 2 daughters, so I think about what it means to be their mom, and like setting an example for them that, you know, they could be part-time, they could be full-time, they could run a business, they could, like, just, and my boys too, like, they should know that you know, my husband does the dishes at night. Like, he does a lot of the cleanup, because I've been working the night the night hours for years, you know. So there's parenting there too, even when you're doing something for yourself. But definitely it's not guilt free. Like, there,
Totally.
you know, you're constantly questioning yourself. Like, my son, who is 9, and his friends where they have siblings around their age, had a very different quarantine experience in the spring than my son, who was the youngest and didn't really have a sibling to play with and didn't have a mom on the floor. Like, I'm so done with Legos. You know, like, I'm just not sitting on the floor with him anymore. I did that. I didn't do it for him. So that's hard. He, you know, but I did that stage of my life. I'm done with it.
Yeah. That's so beautiful. I love how you could own it. I love how you could say, you know, I could do anything, just not everything at the same time. Like,
yeah,
put in my decade, you know, and now I'm putting in building my profession, my future, whatever it is. I'll tell you, Wendy, I struggle with a lot of guilt. I don't know. I think it's like a Jewish thing. I actually looked it up. Like, is like this phenomenon of guilt, like, predominantly a Jewish thing? And the truth is, it's very known to be, but it's not. There's other religions that are more heavily steeped in guilt. And guilt could be very, very, it could really
limiting.
be limiting. Let's just
limiting, yeah.
Not positive. It could hold you back. If it's not serving you, you got to let it go. And
sure.
This work that I've been doing for a long time. I've worked with coaches on getting rid of guilt, just letting it go. And I think it's like many generations coming down to me. Like, I feel like it's so ingrained in me. But if it's not serving you, you do need to let it go. I just want to show you this picture that I just found. I think you'll appreciate this, because I know you, Wendy, from the Melding trips, right? You're a leader. How many have you led on? How many
my
trips
trip with you was
on?
my 3rd. We're supposed to go this fall. I don't know. That doesn't look like that's happening, but it would have been my 4th. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, hopefully soon, and we'll be back in Israel together. Well, I found this picture that one of my participants took. It's 7 years
That's beautiful.
I'm on Masada. I'm
Oh,
leading.
it's you.
It's me. I took a break
Oh my
to
gosh.
nurse my 3-month-old baby. And this was on the trip.
Wow.
Like, my ladies were kind of waiting for me. I was the bus leader. Like, it was pretty intense. And
that's really stunning.
Like, the balance, like, this is my priority. I have this newborn baby, and I have my job. I have these women that are counting on me. When I led this trip, I was living in Denver, Colorado. And honestly, there was no other women in the organization that was able to be the leader. And I felt like, you know, this tug of war, like, of my values.
Wow.
This is my top priority. And yet this is what gives me so much satisfaction. And this is my passion also. So it's like holding both and realizing you can't do everything perfectly when you're doing so much all together, and there is a time for everything. So
Right.
I don't know if there's anything else you want to share
I
about
love that. No,
guilt
I
and
think it just reminds me of, like, I think one way to sort of sort through that guilt is like, if you're able to visualize what you think you will feel like when you look back, like that's been a really motivating and decisive factor in my life. So like those trips remind me, I mean, I didn't have that where I had a newborn, but it's always really hard to get away, to leave my family, leave my husband. I feel guilty. Like, I keep getting to go to Israel.
there's so
Actually,
much guilt in that room when you're with
yeah,
200 women and they've all left their
yeah,
families. It takes about 24 hours
yeah,
until they're like,
right,
kids? What kids?
right. And my kids are like, "You're going again," and I'm leaving my clients but but anything that's important that makes you struggle like that, if you can think, okay, well, in 1 month, in 1 year, in 5 years, whatever, like what's going to matter to me, that I had to like shift everything around to make time for this, and
Beautiful.
maybe I didn't make as much income that month, or that I did that trip, that I influenced those women, that they influenced me, and that it moved my life forward.
Right.
So
Oh,
I think, like we tend to make decisions based on these short-term factors, but if you can think about that longer vision, like where am I trying to get, then it sort of moves you beyond that
yeah.
stumbling block of the guilt, right?
Right, it's so true. In my interviews with so many women over the years, I've taken, a couple hundred women on trips, and it's always the same conversation of guilt. I don't know, it's not the right time. It's never the right time, right?
Right,
And I've always told ladies, you're not leaving your kids. You're going for your kids.
right,
You're not
for sure.
leaving your marriage. You're going for your marriage. You're going to be a better mother, wife, person, friend. You're going to fill your battery. So but that struggle is so real. And I think it's so Jewish, honestly. Like just the word Israel actually means to struggle, right?
Struggle, yeah.
With the angel. And the actual, the letters of Yisrael for a Jew, Yud, Shin, Resh, Aleph, Lamed, if you like do a little mix around with the letters, it actually spells Li Rosh. I have a head. I think for myself. I struggle. It's
I
such a
love that.
quality. So we could take that guilt, we could call it guilt, or we could call it like we're grappling because we know that there's something more. We're really like pushing ourselves and our growth and trying to like have this like dialogue with God, like what is it all about? What am I meant to do over here? I want this and I want that. It's kind of aligning ourselves with our values again and again. So I
Hmm.
think it's pretty Jewish, actually. Maybe that's where
Yeah,
the
yeah,
Jewish guilt comes from. So
totally.
nice.
And
Well,
there's
thank
no
you.
trips right now, but there's plenty of having to balance that need to still do things for yourself,
Yeah, yeah, which is our
you
next
know.
topic that we wanted to talk about. And I really want you to share a little bit about, what makes you a little different to your average, religious lady down the street from you, Wendy. I mean, I want to see those feathers in your wig. Let's
Oh,
see.
you're so funny. Yeah, so for full disclosure, it is wig for people who are watching.
Really nice.
There are feathers in it. Yeah, I guess so I did not grow up Orthodox. I am since I was 20, I have been observant. But so I I took a lot of parts of me and tried to sort of integrate them over like I'm 42, so over my lifespan. So depending like where you know me from, I'm not so weird. you know so so I guess like the more within the Orthodox world, it would be a little unusual to maybe like have feathers in your wig, or to ride a bike, or I mean there are women who ride bikes. I shouldn't like say that, but definitely when I started pulling my kids in a bike 13 years ago, I was quite a sight. had like a burley on the back of my bike and did my errands, my shopping. Like, it's very Portland, but I'm in Chicago, so it only happens for me like 4 months of the year or so. But that was a really unusual sight. And before that, I've been running since I was 19. I followed my sister into running, and she's a coach and a incredible athlete. So I do that, and that was unusual a long time ago. Now there are a lot of people that actually run in my neighborhood and everywhere. So I'm really happy to see that. But that was unusual.
Trendsetter Wendy.
I don't know. And then 7 years ago, we got a dog, and everyone's got a dog now. Like, according to
I mean, when you got it 7 years ago, it's probably more unusual for your community.
Everyone was, I mean, I have 4 kids, which I know to a lot of your viewers and listeners, that sounds like a lot. But of my friends, of my friends my age, I'm the only one, really the only one that didn't go on of my age. Like, I got married at 23, so I had my first kid. I was almost 25, and I'm the only one that didn't have a 5th, 6th, or 7th. Wow. And I got a dog. Like, that was so weird. So,
wow. Well, Wendy, I think this is so important, because I just like being true to yourself and not just going through the motions and doing things because everyone's doing it, but really, really knowing your limits, what makes you tick, and doing what's right. I mean, you kind of remind me of like the daughters of Tzlafchad that were like, no,
gosh.
I mean, these were like these biblical women that challenged Moses, and they were right. Like, there's nothing wrong with going bike riding or going running or having a dog. Like, there's nothing wrong with these things. And if this is what or having 4 kids, I mean, in the Torah, it just says, have a boy and a girl. That would be great. Not everyone could even have kids, but it's a mitzvah to have a boy and a girl. I mean, like, you did your obligation, and so tell me a little bit about what was going on in your mind as you're living your true life, doing your thing. How do you block out all the noises and not feel like you're being judged, but just having this relationship with God, and that's what's most important in front of you?
Yeah. So I think, well, first I want to say, so what's funny is, like, I feel like a lot of your listeners would just like, what's weird about running or biking or having a dog? Like that's really who I was. I grew up like that. Those were all normal things. Those were like interests of mine, passions of mine. And again, I think it's like kind of that pendulum in life. Like, so I grew up in a certain way, and I had interests, and like, I was pretty much a formed adult when I became Orthodox. Like, I was, still changing ideas of what I thought about the world. And I would hope that it's still really different than it was when I was 20. But those are all things that were a part of me. And similar to the parenting versus the work, like, there was a time in my life where I was figuring out what it meant to observe the laws in the Torah and what that meant for me. And so there was a time where I wasn't, doing all these things that are my interests, that are, totally permissible, but just weren't so, like, accepted or normal. It wasn't the right time in my life to do those things. Like, I lived in Israel for a while. I did run there. So I think that was part of it. Like, I did have a rabbi there who was like, I was like, I gotta run. Like, I can't sit in your class all day and not run. And in Israel now there's people running, there's races. It's like very, very active. But when I lived there, like,
have you heard of BD Deutsch? Have you
seen? Yeah, totally. She's been on my sister's podcast, and I've totally watched her journey.
So tell us a little bit about her, just because I think it's really kind of broken the mold for a lot of women.
Yeah, so she's amazing. She's running and covering her hair, her sleeves, her skirt, and trying to make the Olympic team for Israel. So really, really incredible and inspiring to people. And she has broken down like every, so many barriers, and she had to write to the Olympic committee trying to get the women's race moved to a Sunday and not on Shabbat, like things like this. Like she's really had to be a leader in that space, and people have been really inspired.
So amazing.
So,
like, do
so
anything.
yeah, like I mean, she was probably like 5 years old and living in America, but I was running in that same neighborhood where she lives in Harnov, and like I had a rabbi who ultra Orthodox, like the whole thing, leader of the school I was in, and very special man. And I was like, I gotta run. He's like, well, can you run on the rooftop of the cafeteria? And I was like, no, like you don't understand. I run for a long time. I would have to do like I don't know, 200 circles on that roof. So whatever, he worked with me, and he's like, so just don't go at the time that everybody's like getting out of synagogue, like he worked out a time with me, and I just ran, and like you'd have Israeli kids like, what are you running from, or whatever.
Love it.
But yeah, I think he was a big influence on staying true to yourself. So I had that right from the beginning. I feel really grateful to have had that. I was in Neve, for anyone who knows the school. So I had that. And then, but yeah, there was a time where I wasn't necessarily pursuing all of those interests, but it was because I was pursuing something else that was my passion at that time, which was like learning every single thing I could learn that I felt that I hadn't learned in school. I love learning. So when I got turned on to being more observant, I really I needed to know everything that minute, and I needed to like gather up the skills that would take to raise a family and to be able to help kids with homework. That's where my head goes. Like I'm always like thinking 10 years down the road, like how am I going to help my kids with homework? So I just was really passionate about learning and growing, and that's all I was doing at that time. That was my stage. And then I had kids, and that was my focus then. And then like after I had my 3 kids all 2 years apart. So after my third child, my son, was born, I don't remember his first year of life so well. It was such a blur.
A bit of a foggy time.
Oh gosh, it was such a blur. I was working, and I didn't have the right babysitting to set up, and I was like that mom with 3 kids at the grocery. It was just a crazy year. But that's a year that I got back into running. So there were 4 years off, and that's the year that I got back into running, and I think that's the year where everything kind of started to really meld together. I really it doesn't have to be
of different parts of your life, like making sense
of
it all. That's beautiful.
Yeah, and I had time and space for me. Like it doesn't matter what you're doing, but there has to be something as a mom all the time and I don't have any regrets about those early years. I was happy. I really enjoyed it, but I think it's much healthier when you have passions and interests and hobbies that you're doing on your own.
Wow, that's beautiful.
And I also think as my kids have gotten older and they're less needy, I've been able to really pursue more of that, and I feel less scared of the future of when my oldest is leaving in a year. I hope she gets to go. So I'm grateful we have a year to hopefully get a vaccine, but she should be leaving in a year, and after that there's 2 more right after them, and so I feel less nervous about this next stage of life because I've pursued interests and spent time on that. But yeah, I think running was the first thing.
Wow, Wendy, there's I guess so many different passions that you have, and it probably took time for you to grow in who you are, to feel completely confident in being a little different, even within a community that might, not, they might look at you and be like, how many dogs do they have? Or
2.
So
Yeah.
What was going through your mind? I mean, are you just a really strong person that couldn't care less? I mean, people,
Yeah.
what goes on in our mind is we think people, like we think we take up some headspace in people's minds, like, oh, what are they saying? Like the truth is,
Yeah.
people don't care. They're so like occupied with their own stuff.
Totally.
Maybe it's like 2 seconds of like, where's she running to? Or that's strange, that's different. And then they're on to the next thing, right? So I'm just
Yeah.
so impressed with you that you've been able to always find your way, find your North Star, be true to yourself, and not let go of yourself, not let go of what makes you you. It's so beautiful.
I'm a little embarrassed, but no, I appreciate that. I can't take credit for it though. I feel like I've just always had supportive people in my life where I felt loved and supported for being me. So I'd say like in my earliest, it's my mom. I talk to her every day, so I always felt like really supported by her. And I found the right teachers when I was going through these changes in my life, and I felt supported by them to still, be me. There's like a lot of rules in the way that we live, but it's about it. It's not about like you can still be who you are, right? If you're not like true to yourself, and then you're not you're not serving your community, you're not serving your family, you're not serving yourself. Like Hashem makes each person exactly who they are with their interests and their talents and their weaknesses and their struggles, and like those are all come together to help you reach the person that you're supposed to be. And if you're not true to that, then you're not
Right.
yeah, first of all, you're so boring. And
No, it's really
but
boring.
like you're not reaching anything. But so I think that was helpful. I really have had good friends on my journey. We're not all the same, but we really understand each other and value where one another are coming from. So that's been really key. And also, like I'd say, when I started running, everyone noticed. Now I have run with a dog, so I'm really noticeable. And biking was super noticeable. I had this like big yellow trailer behind me, and then we eat really healthy, which is super common, but it wasn't like I'd say, 10 years ago, which is crazy, but in the Orthodox community, it wasn't very common to eat really healthy. As a vegetarian since I was a kid, like that's just unusual. So people started asking me. I think that's why I felt like bold enough to be able to just embrace my interests and kind of like be loud about it, or just not be afraid of it, was because people would ask me questions like, I want to eat healthier and I don't even know where to start. Like I wouldn't even know what to buy. I wouldn't know what to make, whatever. So I started food blogging, and that really made me feel supported.
Sorry, I just got a little visitor. Like,
That's okay. Hi, visitor.
We'll be finishing up pretty soon, but wow.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like your story and your strength, just to be who you are, is very inspiring to me. You know this about me, Wendy, because we were on a trip together. So I love dancing, right?
Yeah.
And I danced since I was a young girl. I mean, probably like 5, 6, 7 years old. I was taking tap, jazz, and ballet, and then I started with Israeli dancing. And dance was always a huge part of my life. Got me through high school years, choreographing dances for the school plays and all that. And then I became an aerobics instructor. And then I had kids, and literally for a decade, maybe 15 years of my life, my dancing took a back seat. And I didn't realize what that did to me, because I had let go of something that gave me so much joy. And I just couldn't find place for it. Like I tried different things. Like I was going to hip hop in Jerusalem and at the YMCA and like trying, but like it was time, it was money, it was values. It was like I couldn't prioritize myself in a way. And I'll tell you, Wendy, I just got back to dancing 3 years ago. I found the perfect class for myself at the community center here. It's not the Jewish community center, it's the regular open community center. And I found a teacher and I just connected with her. I love how I feel after I spend time with her. And I had this major dilemma because here I was in the community center. There's like glass open windows. Anyone could walk by. I've never mixed danced, like I've never danced with men. The community center is open to anyone. They would never segregate. They would never like do an only women's dance class, never. So here I was, like I went the first time, it was all women. It was like early in the morning. It was all, you know, retired ballerinas and myself. And like it gave me so much. And then one time, like a man walked in and I walked out. It was just, I couldn't like, I was grappling so hard. And I remember I came home crying and I spoke to my husband and I called a rabbi and I said, this is so important to me. Like, what do I do? It could be a man will walk in. What do I do? How do I hold and value this tremendous thing that I feel like I need and still be true to myself?
Mm-hmm.
And I found my way, but it took a lot of time. I have my little corner in the back of the classroom where like everyone, and I go in my headscarf. Everyone knows, like, I mean, in a way, it's been so beautiful because I've gotten so many questions from the women, like, it's so hot. Are you not like, so, you know, schmoiling hot in all that clothing, you know, as we dance and sweat together? And it's just been an opportunity to find my true self, what's important to me, to hold them all together. And there are ways. Like sometimes like to be doing something like you're dancing and you're moving your body, and yet, you know, I still need to find my way of being modest and being true to like how I want to be to the outside world, even within a room full of people. Like it's been such a gift of that struggle, right? The guilt, I would say, it actually like helped me find my way, and now like dancing is not going anywhere. Like this is so important. It's really like my kids know, like mommy doesn't make it to her 3 dance classes a week. Like she's a basket case. Like they're like go. So it's been amazing.
I love that.
Yeah, it's not like one answer for every person. I wouldn't say that the Rebbitzin down the street should go to the Southwest Community Center dance class. Like she would be shocked, you know, like, but for me and from where I'm coming from and what I really, really need as an inspired Jewish woman, I needed to find my own way, you know, with the guidance, with the support, with everything. It's so important not to lose what makes us tick. It's just such a beautiful.
Yeah. And I think for everybody, like we all have these excuses. So for you, it was this concern about modesty and is this who you are and how do you meld that? And, you know, like for me, it's like, okay, well, no one around me is doing this. Can I still do it? You know, and for someone else, it might just be that, you know, they have the mom guilt or they're too busy or whatever, but it's that decision that, okay, what do I need for myself? And then like those first couple times of making sure that you do it for yourself. And then it can really become a habit. And then it's not a decision anymore. It's like, okay, this is just what I need to do to thrive as a person, as like a well-rounded Jewish woman. And it's really just getting over those stumbling blocks that we tend to put before ourselves.
Totally. When I was like really going through this, my husband was like, Eve, you asked a question to a rabbi, he gave you guidance, you know what you need to do, like just put the guilt down, like go, enjoy, like have an amazing time, like sweat it out. I really think it's important that we all find joy in our life, and God wants us to serve him with joy. So if we're holding back a part of our personality or something that we love doing for bigger reasons, for our, you know, whatever the case, it's not good. God wants us to serve him with a full heart. And if our Judaism is feeling so heavy, like imagine if you never ran again and never biked and didn't have these dogs in your life. Like imagine if you just did what everyone else around
and didn't go camping. Just tie it back to the beginning.
But you did go camping?
We go every year. We're going next week too. We go a lot.
Imagine if you didn't do all these things
Yeah.
that make you guys so unique and so special. It would be so sad. And I also see you, Wendy, as a light in your community and in the world. And I see how just you living your life and doing what makes you so happy and so vibrant, it kind of has this ripple effect on the people around you. People notice it. People are attracted to happiness, to joy, to fulfillment. And when you live your life so fully, other people say, wow, you know what, maybe I could also have permission to live my life so fully.
That's really sweet. Thank you.
Okay, well,
I hope so.
We're gonna wrap up, even though there's probably more to say. I'll just tell you guys, I mean, I live in Portland. I know Wendy said that I've lived in all her favorite cities. I mean, we both actually lived in Hernhof, Jerusalem. I mean, we didn't know each other back then.
Okay, I wouldn't put that on my top 10 cities.
I
loved living there. I love what I got there.
For the time, place where we could grow and learn. I mean,
totally, it's what I needed.
Yes.
But Portland and Boulder are a little more me.
So yeah, I can totally see you there. And Wendy actually has an amazing blog called Granola Docs, where she has all the great recipes, healthy, like I saw all your whole wheat sugar cookies. Like my kids would flip if I would do that. I'm going to try that. But it's like,
oh, mine don't even know what whole like regular wheat is.
Oh, that's awesome. That's so awesome. We have so much
white
to
flour.
learn from you. So much to learn from you in our community. And I just want to say, like, whenever people say, like, what are you doing in Portland? You know, and I explain, I mean, there's reasons that we're here. My husband is a rabbi of a community here, and we're doing our work here. There's a lot of work to be done. Thank God we're so blessed to be in this community. But whenever I tell friends, like my sister who lives in like Toronto, which is like a big community like Chicago, like sometimes she's like, Eve, you've been there too long. Like you're so out of the box. Like you need to kind of like, do you remember like you used to be a little bit more mainstream? And what I tell her and what I tell my friends that kind of like push me about like, why am I in Portland? I say the greatest gift from living in a place like Portland is that I'm never looking over my shoulder like, who's watching me? Am I doing the right thing? Am I dressed the right way? Am I like, there's no like standards that everyone keeps to here. And what I found in the last 6 years of us living here is that the greatest gift has been that I'm able to be an Eved Hashem, a servant of God, in the way that I really feel is serving me and serving my relationship with God. I'm not doing things because someone is looking or it's expected. I'm doing things, I'm living my Judaism because this is what makes me tick, and this what is really like my heart is on fire. You know, no one is telling me to do it. No one is looking at me. And that is a gift, to find your way in kind of like, sometimes I feel like I'm in a wilderness here. It's like a midbar out here. There's literally just a couple dozen Orthodox Jewish women here. I mean, literally, we're such a small group. I mean, Chicago, you guys have thousands of Orthodox Jewish women, right? And I look at you and I see the struggles of being so unique in a place like yours. And in a way, I feel like maybe it's a little easier for me to be with all my flying colors in a place like Portland. But Wendy, I see you as being such an amazing, positive light in your community.
Thank you. It's definitely mutual. Yeah, I mean, just a note on Chicago. I do think it is more open, and there's room to be yourself in a lot of spaces. I mean, it's the only Jewish community I've lived in, so I can only speak to this, but there is a lot of room here as well to be yourself.
There are so many different pockets, right? You have Skokie and you have all different communities.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure other people, maybe they don't feel like that, but I definitely have felt room to breathe and grow. But yeah, it's been I'm really grateful to have gotten to get to know you over this past year, and I don't know, I was kind of like, where have you been all my life?
I know, that's how we felt.
Met
you know,
when
I saw you with your feather, so can I tell you what was going through my mind? So we had an event here where I brought in someone to do fairy hair. Do you know what that is? It's like shiny.
Oh yeah, like
right?
the silvery.
Yeah. So I, of course, so like I was the first one in line, right? And I had her put them in my wig. Everyone was having them, done in their hair, and I had it done in my wig. And the next day, so cute, my youngest son, he said, "Mommy, what is that in your wig? So in your hair?" And
Yeah.
I said, Shalom, when women get older, some of them get gray and some of them get shiny.
I love that.
Yeah. So he was like,
some of us grow into birds. I don't know. No.
Yeah. Well, I
Yeah,
think
no.
we're going to end. If there's anything else you want to share, or maybe you'll share how people could find you or find your work.
Yeah,
Amazing
sure. So
website.
we talked about work-life balance, but not so much about my work, which is fine because all I talk about normally is my work. So this was a good break to my work day. But I'm at Sparker Marketing, and it's Sparker without an E. So I'm on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter, and I have a podcast also. And maybe I'll throw a question back at you. So I like to add in my podcast when I do an interview with someone by asking like, and it's only Tuesday, so you're gonna have to, you don't have a lot of days to reflect on, but I like to always ask about like, what's one thing this week that really sparked your inspiration, your interest, or like, was there any new thing that you learned or saw that really inspired you this week?
Love that. Oh, wow.
Put you on the spot.
It is only Tuesday. I feel like I need to like look at my calendar. Like, what did I do this week?
Yeah, my podcast is on, I usually record on Thursdays, so people have more time to
time. I mean, every day I do things that spark passion in me, and every day I try to learn something. So, I mean, this week was a really good week. There was a lot of excitement because, well, today's Tuesday, but on Sunday I had 60 women coming together for our second virtual women's retreat. It was amazing. And so I'm on a high from that, honestly, just because I think my favorite thing in the world is bringing people together, creating a space, and letting people shine, which is really what this whole podcast is about. Like, I want to bring your light to the world. And I have so many fabulous people in my life that I just want to highlight them. So we had 8 presenters on Sunday. Each one was incredible. The feedback was tremendous. And we danced, of course. I led the dance party. And honestly, the takeaway, the way that I walked away was just feeling held in a community. And I think there's so much value in surrounding yourself.
In quarantine.
Yeah, like surrounding yourself with people, with growth, with new ideas, challenging yourself. I mean, for me, it was a bit of a stretch to put this on the night before. I didn't sleep a wink. I was just, my heart was racing. I was nervous. I don't even know why I was nervous. I was excited, I would say, to make something amazing happen. So that was kind of like a good way to kick off this week. And honestly, like tonight, I have an engagement party that I'm preparing for, where my daughter and I were throwing an engagement party, and we're doing something new. So, which is another passion of mine, which is like culinary and baking and decorating and doing cool things with my hands. It's always been a passion. So, those initials, like you cut out big initials in cookie dough, and then you fill it with cream, and you do another initial on top, and then you decorate it with like flowers and meringues and candies and all that stuff. I've never done this before, but
I'm sure you'll post it, and I want to see it.
I'm excited to do that. Like, it takes time. It takes like clearing the kitchen. Like, guys, we're having pizza for 3 nights in a row because I'm not making any dinner because I'm doing this project. But my kids know that this is what lights my fire, and this is what gives their mother a lot of joy and satisfaction. So it's been a good week so far.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so happy for you. Okay, I'm glad I asked.
So amazing. Well, I hope our followers, our listeners will seek you out, will find you, and hopefully soon we'll be dancing together again in Jerusalem, you and I. So I just want to end, if it's okay, I'd love to end with something that I wrote about a year ago. It's called,
I want to hear.
Thank you. It's called Standing Out. This was actually published in the Nashim magazine. So it's a women's magazine. Now it went online. You could look it up. So it's called Standing Out. I tried to fit in for so many years until I realized I was supposed to stand out. Don't overshare, I was told numerous times, But this was the hardest thing of all, for I knew deep in my core that my strength lied in my vulnerability. So many messages, mixed messages, messages from the outside, drowning out the sound of the inner voice. Finding balance, making mistakes, standing up tall and trying again, accepting myself for who I am. Be relatable to everyone, but be distinguished. Go with the flow, but make a difference. Be real, but never let your guard down. Be modest, but be powerful. Don't make waves, but change the world. So much to uphold, sometimes the bar feels too high to reach. Impossible to please everyone. But why do we care so much? Are we pleasing God? Is He proud of our work? Are we being true to ourselves? Different strokes for different folks. We have Sarah, the matriarch, who stayed in her tent, teaching us about the value of modesty and a beautiful traditional path for a Jewish woman to follow. And then we have Devorah, the prophetess, who blazed the way. She sat under the tree, the palm tree, judging, advising, and serving the Jewish people in her own incredibly powerful way, possibly breaking the mold. I assume she got lots of kickback, but that didn't stop her from doing her holy work and bringing her unique light into the world. Every person has a unique gift to share with the world. Some will lead quietly and others will make a splash. One is not better than the other. Both are needed. Be yourself and not someone you are not. Follow your gut. Listen to your intuition, your God-given Bina Yetera. That's like your extra intuition that was given to women. Let your heart lead you. Embrace what makes you different. Listen to your inner voice. Find what makes your heart sing. Celebrate what makes you unique. We are not all meant to be the same. Our gifts and talents are meant to be utilized and enjoyed. The world needs every last contribution. At the end of your life, God will look at each soul and ask that famous question, how come you weren't you? Let's aim to be the most authentic self possible. So I ended by asking the question, so
That
what
was
is your
beautiful.
strength? Thank you. What is your strength? What gift did God give you? And how will you use it to leave your mark on the world? So those are the questions I want to leave our audience. And thank you so much. Thank you for coming on, Wendy, and thank you everyone for joining us today. And we hope to see you back here soon.
Thank you so much for having me. Bye.
Such a pleasure. Thank you, everybody.